Hey everybody, it's me again, Will. If you don't know that, if it's your first video, if it happens to be the first video you're seeing of me, then hi, my name's Will. I go over photography things and editing things, and today we're going to go over one of the biggest questions that I always get, and that is simply, how do I get sharper images? Everybody wants sharper images, like it's the hardest thing in the world to do, and sometimes it is hard to do if you aren't doing the right things in camera. But this video is about how to get sharper images or more contrasty images in Lightroom. Now here's the thing, sharpening isn't just cranking that sharpening slider up to 100 and hoping for the best. No, it's about subtle tweaks, subtle adjustments, and getting the photo right in camera first of all. So today I'm going to show you how to get sharper looking images with techniques in Lightroom without making them look crunchy or fake. Sound good? Let's get to it. Now, before we even touch Lightroom, sharper images start first and foremost from you. That's right, you. If you take a blurry photo, then there is no magic trick or magic editing technique to unblur that photo. There are some apps, there are some things that can sharpen the edges, but if it is not tack sharp or in focus, there's only so much we can do. Now, AI is coming along real nicely, so at one point, maybe we get there, but even if we have that opportunity, even if we have that option, get it right in camera. Are you using a fast enough shutter speed? Are you getting your focus point right on the eye if using a portrait? Is your ISO low enough? Because if you have a very high ISO, especially in lower end cameras, it can make the edges soft and fuzzy because the quality will be lower. And are you using a tripod when you need to? These are a few things that you can do to make sure that your photos come out tack sharp. The other thing is double check. Take the photo. If you're unsure, zoom in on that bad boy and make sure it is sharp. I have a video that I went over and I'll link it up here somewhere. I'll also link it in the description that goes over how to nail focus every time. But that is where this entire video starts. If you're not getting it sharp in camera, you're already setting yourself up for failure. Okay, here we are in Lightroom. Now, the first thing to know is with sharpening, let's zoom into her eye here. First, notice her eyes are tack sharp. The focus was flawless, like it was right on. Now, if I go into the effects tab, that is not where that is. If I go into the detail tab, that's where it is. And I go into sharpening and I crank this up, it looks really, really bad. Because basically what sharpening is doing is it's darkening the dark lines and it's brightening the bright lines. So when it does that and you do too much, it looks very jagged, very crispy, very textury. It's not really a good look because it's too much. The key is balance. You want it just enough so it tricks the viewer into thinking it's sharper, but not where it says, oh, there's some sharpening on this bad boy. You don't want that. So what do? Well, first let's reset this and take it off of that amount. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the sharpening, let's say to about 50. If you're posting this on Instagram, go a little bit higher because when Instagram compresses it, it will actually soften it a little. So if you do a little bit extra sharpening, it'll bring it back down and make your Instagram photos even sharper. Pro tip. Next, let's go into luminance reduction. We're going to raise this to about 50 as well. So then we have what's called a 50-50 split, 50 sharpening, 50 luminance, and then push and hold Alt and Option, go to masking, and then raise this until the white is only on the edges. What this is telling Lightroom is you want the sharpening where the white parts are and the noise reduction where the black parts are. So it softens and sharpens at the same time, drawing your eye to the sharper parts of the image. So there we have it. So if we look at the before and the after, the image looks softer as a whole, but the eyes stay super crisp and super sharp. And that is how to add the sharpening part of this video properly. Now, the next way that you can add sharpening is by using the presence sliders. Now, these are the texture, the clarity, and the dehaze. Now, what these do is add contrast in the finer details, the midtones, and like dehaze takes away haze and increases saturation. But these are very, very powerful sliders, so you have to use them subtly. For example, let's zoom in here on our model over here and a little bit more so we can really see, and let's raise the texture. So that looks rough, like that she actually looks sickly now. So we're gonna undo that. Now let's do clarity. Now, clarity is increasing the contrast in the midtones. So you can see, yikes, that looks really bad. And then finally, dehaze, it's taking out the haze, it's increasing saturation, and it's increasing overall contrast. Again, looks rough. So these three, when used too much, can really destroy your image. So how do you use these sliders? Well, you have to first understand, where do you want the viewer's attention to go? In this photo, we want the attention to go to the two models, right? Good. So in this case, we aren't going to be using global adjustments. We're not just going to be texture, clarity, dehaze, whee, yay, we're done. No, because that affects the entire image and it makes it look bad. You look at this image right now and you're like, where do I look? Everything looks so rough, right? Raw. So what we're going to do is reset all of these, and we're going to use masking. Masking is where you can really increase the sharpness and contrast in your photo and really make your models or your image stand out. If you're doing a landscape, you would apply this to the area of the image where your subject is, whether that be a building or a person in the distance or a mountain or anything like that. You would do the same application in that sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our masks. We're going to select the subject here. Now, by using just these three sliders, we're going to increase contrast in the entire image, increase sharpness, and make it look more powerful. We're going to go down to clarity, and we're going to increase it by 5. We're going to increase the dehaze by about 10, and we're just going to add about 5 of texture. 5, 6 of texture, something like that. Now, we're going to click this, we're going to duplicate and invert it, and we're going to do the complete opposite. So we're going to do -10 on the dehaze, -5 on the clarity, and this will vary depending on your image and how you want it to look, and -6 on texture. So immediately, let's look at this. Let's zoom in right here. Oop, too much. Let's zoom in right here, right? And let's look at the before and after. Before and after. Do you see how much more intense our models are? Before, after. The background kind of fades away and just disappears, whereas she becomes more intense and your interest goes right to their faces. I mean, it pulls it right in. Here's the full image, before, after, before, after. I mean, that is insane, that level of detail. Now, there's one step further you can go here. Let's say we're on the background mask here. Let's go up to our white balance and we can cool off the background. So drop down the temperature. Then we can go into our subject and we can warm them up. And again, creating more contrast, creating a cool background and a warm subject will pull them off of the background and make them look sharper. It's perceived sharpness to make your subjects really draw the attention as soon as the viewer looks at the image. Now let's go to our next one. Before we get into the next one, and don't leave me yet because I saved the best for last, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you hit the bell so you get notified because it also really helps me as well. And if you are truly looking to master Lightroom, I have a Lightroom Master of Editing course which covers everything and more, including a lot of freebies and downloads and all these goodies. But I'm not going to get into more. I'll put the link in the description to give you more information about it. If you're interested, go check it out. But let's carry on with the video. And the next one is a very, very popular one. I'm sure you know all about this one, but it's very, very simple, extremely powerful, but very, very simple, is the tone curve. Now, this will apply to specific images however you want to do your tone curve, because there are so many ways to apply the tone curve to get certain looks for your image. For a simple contrast look, you can go and you can just create a simple S-curve. This is lowering the shadows and brightening the midtones and brightening the highlights just a shade and bringing down the whites. Then you can bring up the blacks just a smidge, and this can create a small amount of contrast. Now with this, you don't want to go too much. Everything in Lightroom is about moderation. If you go terribly much with this, you can really make it look, well, like blown out film, so to speak. And some people might like that. So there you go, new edit unlocked. You're welcome. Let's undo that. It's about subtlety. You can increase the contrast, but when you push it too far, it's no good. Now, if you're unsure how to use the tone curve, play around with it, push it too far, learn what to do and what not to do. But if you just want to do general stuff, go down here to point curve, and you can do strong contrast, medium contrast. You can even save your own presets. So let's go to medium contrast here, and it's just super subtle. Let's do strong contrast, and it's a little bit more intense. Basically what I just did, and it's already pre-saved for you. And then you can tweak it from there. But here's the before. Here's the after. Simply adding a little bit more contrast makes the photo itself sharper and more detailed. And the last way to increase contrast and to increase sharpness is using proper colors. If you're familiar with the color wheel, you know that complementary colors are opposites. So let's take a look here. Let's go into color grading. Let's open up the midtones here and look at this color wheel. This color wheel is actually a map that you can use to pick which colors you should use in your image. For example, complementary colors would be orange and teal. So let's say you wanted to make this image pop. All right, let's look at this image really quick. First, her skin tone's very orange, golden hour, looking very beautiful, right? The background, very stormy, blue. So how could you add contrast and sharpen her with this image? Well, because she's so orange, you actually don't need to add anything to her, anything to the midtones. You could, let's say you just add a little bit of probably red to really intensify that. And then what I'm going to do is brighten the, maybe darken. Yeah, we're going to brighten it a little bit. And we're going to just lower the saturation of her skin. Okay, good. Now, the background, it's shadowy, right? So let's go to shadows. And we're going to add teal. So we're going to bring this over here. Let's make it really dramatic for this image. And boom. And then we're going to lower the saturation. Beautiful. Now, just with doing that, here's the before and after. Before and after. Now, her skin tones look a little bit off, so we're going to change this a little bit and warm them up. There we go. If you want to lock in the color that you like, press Shift. You'll get a line, and you can adjust just the saturation. So just a little bit of orange, and there we have it. Before and after. So just by those tweaks, we've actually increased the contrast and the sharpness in this image. The last thing you could do is you could go into Color Mixer and desaturate the colors that aren't really helping the image. For example, it's not much in this image specifically, but if I look over here, I see some of the green shrubs. So click on saturation, click on this little toggle thing here, go over to the greens, click and drag down. Now, what are greens primarily? They're primarily yellows. So when we pull that down, you'll notice the yellow slider really goes down. So without adjusting the skin tones, which lie in the reds and the oranges, you pull that down and it removes that distraction. So you can play around with that and really lock in your contrast and your sharpness. So to recap, start with an in-focus sharp image. Use the sharpening sliders to increase the sharpness to make it pull off the screen just a little. Use your masking and your colors to really make your subject pop off the background. Use the texture and clarity to balance the whole image. And then add micro contrast and color contrast for realism to make it look right. The goal isn't to make your photo look sharper than life. Your goal is to make it look as sharp as you saw it when you were there taking the photo. Now, if you want to go deeper into Lightroom and really master editing, don't forget to check out my Lightroom Master of Editing course, which I will link in the description. It covers everything you need to know to edit like the pro. So with that, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Here's a couple of videos to check out that I think you'll enjoy. However, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.